Okay, Facebook. I don't normally do these kind of videos, but I've been encouraged by the campaigns that my brothers and sisters are engaging at the moment under the hashtag not in my name. This is in response to Yahya Jammeh, the Gambian president's recent proclamations that the Gambia is now an Islamic state. Okay, now, like everyone has said, this is a proclamation that hasn't got my blessing as a Gambian. Neither was it done or said in my name. But not only that, I will say that this was a proclamation that was insensitive, inappropriate, irresponsible, and blasphemous. And I will give the reasons why. Firstly, it's insensitive and inappropriate because of the timing of it. I mean, just recently, more than 140 people were killed in Paris in the name of Islamic State, and another 14 people or more have been killed in the United States as well. And there was an attempt on somebody's life in the UK and many other places, and some of them worse, grotesque, inhumane treatment being meted by a group named Islamic State. It's very, very insensitive for a country to choose no other name but a name that it shares with that country. And the reason why that is very inappropriate is that not only does it send a bad signal to Westerners who are our foreign donors, or we're a country that depends on foreign aid, to the West that normally gives us the bulk of that aid, it also sends a bad signal, and as well as a country that depends on tourism a lot, that benefits so much from tourism. It also sends a bad signal to the Islamic states in Syria, that they have a friend in the state of the Gambia, which declares itself the Islamic State. I mean, this is a barbaric institution or organization which Yahya Jammeh himself last year, during his address to the UN, or in his address to the United Nations General Assembly, called them barbaric, all sort of bad adjectives he used to describe ISIS, Boko Haram, and the rest. And now, for him to proclaim that his country is going to be sharing some sort of name with ISIS and the rest, is actually sending a terrible signal to those people that somehow they have a friend in the Gambia and in Gambian people. This simply cannot be right. But not only that, we also know that Gambia is a secular state. And what that means is that we have Muslims, Christians, and people of other faiths in the Gambia. Now, how would we as Muslims, or how would he, Yahya Jammeh himself, if he claimed, he claims to be a Muslim, how would he feel if a Christian man is to be in his position and proclaim Gambia to be a Christian state? I bet he's not going to feel happy about it. Well, that's what he should be expecting from our fellow citizens who are not Muslims. They are not going to be happy with a country that they were born in, which used to be called the Gambia, but now is being hijacked by a particular religion of that country, regardless of the size of that religion. So that is very, very, very irresponsible, inappropriate and irresponsible. It's also irresponsible in the sense that Yahya Jammeh very well knew what he was saying was not true, that it was all lies, simply because Yahya Jammeh knows that an Islamic state, any any state that claims to be an Islamic state ought to epitomize and embody the principles of Islamic teachings, as well as the Islamic laws. One would expect the law in those countries to come from the Islamic scriptures. Now, in the Gambia, laws are not based on the teachings of either the Quran or the Bible. The laws are based on what we call social contract. They're based on acts of parliament, on the National Assembly. The National Assembly are voted in by people, transcendent beyond tribe, religion, or any differences that we may have in that country, beyond political parties or other stuff. Now, those people are the lawmakers in the country. Those people, half of them are uneducated and are Islamically educated. They don't know much about Islam. And their laws are not influenced by Islam or based on Islam. So that is an irresponsibility from a head of state to stand out there and say something that he himself knows, and he himself ought to believe that that is not true. So that is irresponsible of him to make such kind of proclamation, knowing fully well that they're not true. And the last but not least is that the whole proclamation is blasphemous too. Because when one thinks of an Islamic state, as I said, it epitomized the period that the Prophet was leading an Islamic state. That was an ideal Islamic state because it was being led by a man who totally submitted to God, and he was God's prophet. He was receiving revelations from God, and his teachings and his rulings and his leadership was more or less guided by God. When he passed away, he was succeeded by four of his closest and very pious religious scholars as well as religious leaders. That was Abu Bakr, Omar, Uthman, and Ali. Thereafter, the notion of Islamic State almost died from that moment onward, simply because the leaders that we ended up having did not bear, they do not have those traits or characteristics of an Islamic leader. You don't have that in Saudi Arabia. Neither do you, that's why they call it Saudi Arabia, not an Islamic. They don't call it Islamic State of Saudi Arabia or Islamic State of Arabia. Neither do you have it anywhere else. The closest that came to that is Iran, a country that has its spiritual leader, who they call the Ayatollah. When you talk about the Ayatollah, it means someone who is like the vase of God. So he is spiritually up there. But that's what they believe. That's the Shia sect of Islam. We belong to the Sunni sect. In the Sunni sect, and to an extent, even to the Shia sect, one can never imagine Yahya Jammeh, with his record and history, would be fit enough to lead an Islamic compound, much more an Islamic state. That is so blasphemous that the religion of Islam would have a leader as Yahya Jammeh. It's just bad, and it's very offensive, not only to Christians and other people, but it's also offensive to Muslims that Yahya Jammeh would declare himself leader of Islam when Yahya Jammeh can't even recite half of the Quran. How is he supposed to know what God is telling us? This is so wrong, so bad, and it's so inappropriate, so irresponsible, so insensitive, as I said, despite everything that is happening, being associated with Islamic State. Our leader is happy to embrace such a name for the Gambia. That's why this is a proclamation that hasn't got my blessing. It certainly will never have my blessing. and it's never in my name. That's my contribution, or my contribution to the campaign. Thank you all. Bye.